What's up, my beautiful people? It's your boy Dixon, ready to react to NYC is killing fast food chain. Why? Let's get to it.
Average price of a quarter pounder in McDonald's in parts of the country has more than doubled in just the last 10 years. Rising prices forcing inflation-weary customers to turn to cheaper alternatives.
So fast food prices are through the roof all over America, forcing people to make tough choices. But nowhere are those choices tougher than in New York City, where chains like McDonald's are now so expensive, most of the people walking by can't afford to eat there, making you wonder how long it's going to be before they shut down.
$17 for 3 Filet-O-Fishes at McDonald's? Are you kidding me? Price hikes seem to have a lot of people asking, why is fast food getting so expensive?
McChicken sandwich, it was like $1 something, so right now it's $3.
They said that a hash brown, one of those breakfast hash browns, are $3 now. You used to be able to get 2 double cheeseburgers and a McChicken for $3.
As inflation continues to wage war on Americans of every income and wallet size, it's also hitting what traditionally had become the cheaper option.
Huh? Who told y'all was that good to be charging that much for y'all food?
Other fast food chains like Chipotle, Starbucks, and Pizza Hut have also raised prices. Initially, inflation was catching all the blame, but inflation is now showing signs of slowing down.
In April, groceries ticked up slightly compared to a year ago, but fast food prices soared 4.8%.
How does that affect your budget? When you're paying more for fast food, what does that do?
It makes it harder to live, but then you have to save. So you're like, I can't have my fast food if I save.
This turkey sub cost me over $11. The bad news about inflation is prices aren't going to go down.
After 2 years of menu price hikes, big companies finally feeling the pushback from diners.
Wow, with these breakfast prices, you are going to be broke before lunch. But what nobody's talking about is that although all these prices are ridiculous right now, they're not completely the fault of these businesses, especially in New York. In fact, these prices are partly because New York's leaders keep secretly doing things behind the scenes to make life harder for the purveyors of junk food. Plus, the cost of everything here is going through the roof faster than anywhere else. Rents for apartments and restaurants are approaching all-time highs, squeezing both consumers and businesses. And with 40% of American household budgets for food going to restaurants, this puts fast food chains on a collision with reality, as people now have less to spend than they did 2 years ago. And you'd think that in a city with rising costs on everything from underwear to deodorant to milk, that it would mean fast food, even that's more expensive than it used to be, is still the cheapest option for many. But shockingly, fast food prices are rising 3 times faster than grocery store prices, which means that's no longer the case, and some say the writing is on the wall for these junk food joints, because although a third of us eat fast food every day in some form, McDonald's has actually missed their first earnings estimate in 2 years, which means the real reason this is happening is because customers have hit a wall. They cannot afford what used to be the cheapest option for food anywhere in the country. And although the fast food giants have plans to win back customers, some of those might not work in America's most expensive city, because local leaders keep finding ways to raise the costs of these businesses, even when they try to lower prices and save people money. But before we get into the massive problems New York is causing for these businesses, we've got to look at why fast food became such a ripoff in the first place. Because once we see how these companies have already put one foot in the grave themselves, it's going to make a lot more sense how operating one of these places in New York City might become downright impossible, forcing some of these places to shut down permanently. The grease police just went into this Five Guys. They got their tanker truck here to clean the place out. And that's what's so maddening about these prices going through the roof. We know we're not eating delicacies enjoyed by kings of old, even at Burger King.
Other fast food chains like Chipotle, Starbucks, and Pizza Hut have also raised prices. Initially, inflation was catching all the blame for rising prices, but inflation is now showing signs of slowing down.
But you know, when you go into a grocery store and you see that prices are higher there, it should make sense that when a fast food chain tries to go out and buy the same ingredients to make their food, it's also higher for them. Meat, potatoes, eggs, prices for all basic goods are way up. But the other problem is wage inflation. For example, New York City now has a $16 an hour minimum wage, double the $8 that it was 10 years ago, which means a restaurant can only afford half the number of people it used to unless it pushes prices up. But it gets even worse for these places when you look at the next problem they're dealing with.
The fast food labor market became increasingly competitive for employers as companies struggled to fill their restaurants. In 2022, the number of employees
fees in the limited service restaurant category were still below 2019 levels. During that same time,
That's an interesting one. You'd think that in a tough economy where people are getting squeezed financially, a place like this Subway right here wouldn't have an issue finding people to pick up an extra shift when they've got some free time. But fascinatingly, that's not the case. And over the last few years, so many restaurants have opened that there haven't been enough workers to fill them. And what happens when there's a worker shortage? Well, prices have no choice but to go up. Also, a lot of these places don't exactly have the best benefits packages. And that matters a lot when people are deciding where they're going to work. But another issue many of these places have is bad hours. And many workers say they've quit because of inflexible shift requirements. But lately, many places have been doing a better job with hours and pay and benefits. Plus, there are even sign-on bonuses. But where do you think all that money comes from? It comes from the customers that walk in the door and buy stuff. But the problem is, although there might be somebody at Just Salad to make you a counterfeit sweet green, things are now so pricey, many customers are just passing on that opportunity altogether. And that's a problem because for many people, the fastest meal of the day is lunch. And after a couple of weeks of not eating out, these customers might be gone forever. But in New York, there's also another problem for all of these businesses that's making them even more expensive. And that problem is right over here.
Is it yours?
So here we have a Panda Express, which is next to another building, which is actually the same building where the restaurant space is closed. Now, if you're the landlord of this empty building right here, and you also own the building Panda Express is renting from, how do you think you're gonna make money? Because here you have one place that's thriving and has been here for almost 10 years. But the place next door, completely vacant, nobody wants to open it up, and you're losing money. So in order to make more money, you're gonna have to raise the costs for Panda Express, which is gonna go right back into the Beijing beef. And when you consider that the number of vacant stores here has nearly doubled over the last 4 years, this is a big problem. And as landlords lose money on derelict storefronts nobody wants, they're gonna have to get that money from everybody else. And in a high-tax, high-crime city like New York, it's just another cost of existence for these businesses, which in a sense are subsidizing their landlords' losses on other properties. High crime makes people less likely to frequent an area and look for anything to spend money on. And when one business leaves, the others nearby can tank as well. And it even becomes impossible to rent out corner locations like this one across the street because the whole area looks like an absolute disaster. And not only are these businesses fighting an uphill battle because high crime is driving away potential customers, potential business opportunities, but the city of New York has another trick up its sleeve, making it even tougher for these little places to turn a profit. And they're gonna start renting water to every single apartment and business in the city, which is essentially a massive hidden tax. And think of how much money your average fast food joint or cafe is gonna spend on water usage once that goes up. So not only do businesses have to raise their prices again, all of the people that live upstairs from the business that no longer earns any money, they've got to pay those same water fees as well, which means they've got even less. And in the city's never-ending quest to find as much money as it can wherever it can, the people who live here are getting squeezed not only when they try to buy things, but before they even leave the house, with their bills just for living and existing in this city going up either way. On top of that, let's say you own this apartment building up here. All of those apartments are occupied, all paying rent. But since the best cheesecake on earth is now in heaven and nobody's interested in renting this storefront, you lose money on a big portion of what used to generate income for the whole building, which means whoever's paying you rent is about to pay a lot more, which is just another way your New York consumer gets squeezed more than anybody else. But fast food chains, they're having a massive problem all over the country, not just here, and this could have a detrimental impact on how our economy works in ways nobody's talking about. So here we are inside Penn Station, where all of these fast food places have access to a captive audience, but there's a problem that the audience is having, which is why even places here are less busy than they'd like to be.
others like KFC and Pizza Hut are experiencing the same consumer pullback.
We must be laser focused on affordability, which means good entry-level price points available every day.
Where we see a lot of the constraint is the 50K and below consumer who just doesn't have enough spending power to keep doing everything that they were doing.
So this clip makes reference to a $50,000 a year annual income. But do you know what the average annual income in all of Brooklyn is? It's about $40,000 a year. But this isn't just a problem for fast food places. Think of the economy in general. So many people were used to relying and building their lives around the idea of a quick meal while they're at work. Not everyone's got time to make breakfast in the morning at home, or to make their own lunch or their own dinner. And that's going to cost people, because Because now you've got a tough economy, and you've got people making the choice between working and earning money to pay their rent and their other expenses, or eating food, which in a city with the highest rents in America is a bigger problem than it is anywhere else.
As inflation continues to wage war on Americans of every income and wallet size, it's also hitting what traditionally had become the cheaper option. But for many, that's no longer the case.
The average working man is not able. I'm eating a $2 hamburger and a small fries because I can't afford 10, 12, 14.
So the junk food industrial complex has a plan to win back its customers, but it might not be enough unless your business is opening in one of New York's train stations. But before we go over what those are, it may be too late for some of these companies. Because as we saw in 2020, after a couple of weeks, people's habits change and things are never the same. And many customers are saying that they now eat at home way more regularly than they used to. And now that fast food prices are rising beyond what they need to be in order for it still to be considered an impulse buy, once someone goes to Costco and buys 6 months worth of groceries, you won't see them again for a long time because the money for pizza has already been spent, and already there's data showing that customers that are in the $50,000 income a year mark have reduced their fast food spending by 25% so far.
Inflation measuring food at home rose just 1.2% in March versus a year ago, compared to 4.2% for food away from home, which includes fast food. Those customers are increasingly revolting at repeated price increases. Mother of 5 Latifah Henry says if prices get any higher, she'll skip the drive-thru.
You know, another problem facing these companies, it's that pay increases are not keeping up with inflation. And if every ingredient in this salad is much cheaper to buy not only individually, but also at a grocery store instead of a place where someone else prepares it for you, it means every fast food place is fighting a losing battle. In fact, the costs of buying fast food have risen 3 times faster than prices at grocery stores. Which proves that it's not just the raw ingredients that are a problem, it's the labor, and in a lot of cases, it's the actual product itself. People aren't satisfied. Because although McDonald's may have missed its earnings, look at Chipotle. They're still jacking up their prices, and customers are still sticking around, likely because they feel like they're getting more for their money than preparing the same thing at home. Plus, the food is perceived as being healthier and more nutritious. And look at Big Salad. Sweet Green is crushing it. Their stock is way up, which could mean that while your salad is way more expensive here than at home, customers aren't looking at a fast salad place the same way they're looking at your McDonald's offerings. Plus, this is happening at a time when the CEO of McDonald's says that customers are price weary. But that's a statement that's only half true, because customers are still spending money at some places, just not as much money at places with horrible items. And this has some people predicting we've passed the point of no return for big fast food. But is that true? Or are they going to be able to reclaim their lost glory?
I think the government investment is much to make the life of people in space.
To make their menu more affordable, McDonald's is now considering adding a new value meal. Right now, all of this costs $8. And to give customers relief, McDonald's may soon make it a $5 value meal nationwide.
The deal is set to start on June 25th and run about a month. McDonald's is joining Burger.
So the Golden Arches may soon grace us with a $5 value meal, but it's only going to be for 1 month, and a place like this in New York that has super high costs might not even be able to sustain that. Maybe for a month they could do it, but long term, there's no way that's going to work out. But McDonald's hasn't done anything like this in almost 2 years, and it's not just other burger chains like Burger King that are out competing them. Earlier this year, Taco Bell announced a menu with 10 items all under $3, and the company that owns Taco Bell, they own a bunch of other fast food restaurants as well. The goal is to push down prices on everything, and they're planning to roll out new offerings, which makes it seem like whereas your elevated fast food offerings, your Sweet Greens, your Chipotles, they're getting away with higher prices because of higher perceived value, but your junk food purveyors, they're racing to the bottom faster than McDonald's is able to, and that's why they're losing business. But McDonald's has a sneaky way to try and win back all of its customers, and they're gonna do to you and me what Facebook already tries to do to us.
The economist that I talked to said, wait until you start seeing loyalty rewards programs, membership programs, promos to bring you in. When you see that, that is a sure sign that they have reached the top ceiling of how much.
So, app-based loyalty and promotions. This is sneaky for a few reasons. But look at all this signage. McDonald's, they want you on their app so bad. And that's because once you get there, they know every single thing there is to know about you. They're gonna know how much you have to spend on food, when exactly you get hungry, and what things you like to eat. And they know exactly how much money you have because they track all of your orders. They know all of your purchase history. They can probably guess what income category of customer you fit into. And what's also fascinating about this is it allows a business like Wendy's to do targeted promotions through their app, which means they can send you discounts or promotions for things that they think you or the majority of their customers might like. And since they know everyone's buying patterns, they know which items are likely to generate other sales. And you know that saying that if you don't pay for the product, you are the product? Well, when you get a discount at a place like this, that's kind of happening. And that's why companies like McDonald's are doing everything they can to get you on their app, into their world, so that they can totally control your buying experience, understand your habits, and make even more money from you. But will this be enough to win back the hearts of the everyday working man who is now choosing between groceries at the grocery store and your burgers? And what kind of effect is unaffordable food going to have on a city where most people have to work in order to survive, and now they've got to choose between working and feeding themselves? Will this cost the economy more money than anybody wants to admit? And am I the only one who thinks the McDonald's offerings in Japan are a million times better and more creative and tastier than anything you'll find inside this restaurant right here? Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.
That was quite interesting. A lot to learn here, and how the New York government is working, the inflation, the price of commodities going up, salary, of course, constant. I think that is the same problems everywhere right now, all the countries, all the continent. We're facing the same problems. But in New York, this is terrible. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next video.